So we've talked about how bad naturopathic doctors are before, but one element I think we need to discuss is that when these guys are lobbying for representation to be allowed to practice out their, treatments, treatments in parentheses, by the way, and to be able to do it legally, one thing they constantly lobby for is to have a regulatory board. Now, a regulatory board is meant to protect the public from, medical people who might do something wrong, who, it might be a mistake, it might be malicious, they might have done something intentionally. And the idea of, a regulatory board is to establish a standard and make sure it protects the public. Now, this is one thing that they are heavily gunning for if you look at their lobbying. We'll be looking at that later in a later video, but we're going to cover the Californian Naturopathic Regulatory Board today in an article from Forbes. So, a neuropathic doctor by the name of Kim Kelly gave an intravenous injection of curcumin that killed Jade Erick, 30, who sought natural treatment for his emphysema. Her death sparked outrage across the country while naturopathic doctors scrambled to defend this senseless treatment. Now, details about Kelly's practice and his faulty regulation of naturopathic doctors in California raise questions about whether Erick could have been alive today. Almost a year before Erick's death, a complaint was submitted against Kim Kelly for subjecting patients to treatments using ozone, a toxic gas without any therapeutic value. The complaint included 33 other naturopathic licensed doctors in California who were using or advocating so-called ozone therapies. According to the complaint documents, Kelly was doing procedures called prolozone, which is ozone that is injected into the joints, allegedly to promote healing. But he was also doing ozone inflations, which is a catheter which is used to insert gas into the patient's rectum or vagina. The complaint highlights the fact that the California neuropathic doctors are not permitted to use ozone gas, that the US Food and Drug Organization prohibits ozone generators from being sold for medical purposes. Rebecca Mitchell, the executive director of the Californian Naturopathic Medicine Committee, the body charged with protecting the public through the regulation of states' naturopathic doctors, told me that she cannot comment on the status of complaints, and that the committee may have received, which is very bad, because you'd think that a committee or certainly a regulatory board would be more than happy to comment on a past complaint. But oh well, that's naturopathic doctors for you. But the source of the complaint, who requested anonymity, confirmed to me that Michelle received the documents on May 20th, 2016. Michelle told the complainant that the procedure can take several months or a few years, and uses the same process of expert reviewers that the Medical Board of Osteopathic Medical Board. That's wrong, and we'll tell you why in a bit. Michelle's description is inconsistent with the fact. For its cases, the Naturopathic Medicine Committee relies upon naturopathic doctors as expert reviewers. So you're essentially getting one naturopath to review another naturopath, and quite frankly, these guys are not going to dog each other in. And it gets even worse, because the doctors who are examining the complaints covering diversions from the standards of practice But since there is no naturopathic standard of care, a point in which the committee acknowledged in 2009 and that critics of the regulation of naturopathy have noticed too, naturopathic expert reviewers must make ad hoc determinations that are likely to deviate from the medical consensus and fail to establish lasting precedent. For some influential naturopathic doctors, the standard of care includes anything taught in naturopathic schools or done by 2 or more practitioners. That is an appalling standard. And yet, these people claim, and I've even had people claim to me, that these naturopathic doctors are somehow superior to a normal doctor. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm calling bullshit on all your claims whenever anyone says this now. So, the other thing is in the article it brings up is how long it takes to process a claim. Now, in a 2006 annual report, according to this, the California Department of Consumer Affairs, the Medical Board of Osteopathic Medical Board, on average, took about between 230 to 170 days to, respectively, to complete and intake an investigation of a complaint. Now, the person who runs the naturopathic board has said, oh, we do things exactly the same as them. How long do you think it took them to respond and to fully process a claim? I'll let you guess, but I'll cut you out now because 797 days to complete an intake and investigate. It took the medical board on average 15 days to assign an investigator to a complaint after receiving it, and the osteopathic medical board took 32 days. The naturopathic medicine committee lagged again, on taking 134 days to assign an investigator. And no other regulatory body took as long as them to assign an investigator. So if Kim Kelly had been investigated properly by this, so-called regulatory board, and there were actual standards of practice in place, then it is very likely that the guy we were talking about, who had died of ozone through the ozone treatments he'd been given by this naturopath, probably wouldn't have died because he would have had his license taken away. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Yet another reason why naturopaths are quacks, and quite frankly, you should just stay away from them.